Hi everybody, it's Rebecca Caro here on Faster Masters Rowing Radio. Today I'm continuing our theme about what is Masters Rowing like in different parts of the world. And I'm delighted to welcome to the show for the first time Digger Barnes from British Rowing. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be the person who gets to talk. Digger, tell the listeners a little bit about you and your involvement with Masters Rowing in Great Britain.
Rarely enough, I only started rowing 8-9 years ago. I'm now captain of Penguin Boat Club in Shrewsbury. I also sit on the Masters committee that represented by the clubs for the UK. All in 8-9 years. So yeah, come from nowhere really.
Well, isn't that wonderful? And aren't you a great symbol of the changes that are happening in Masters Rowing in the UK? Which brings me to my first question. Can you tell us a little bit about the clubs in the UK and where people can do rowing when they're of a master's age?
There are lots and lots and lots. I don't know the exact number, but there are clubs pretty much anywhere around the UK, and you tend to find that there's obviously school clubs, but most of the non-school clubs are nearly always run by masters rowers. So, and I'm sure that's the same across the world, but there's the opportunity for anybody. I didn't start rowing until I was 45, 46. You can literally, if you can find a club that can take you in, then you can start rowing at any age. And that's a really good thing about rowing. It's just nobody explains to you how technical it is, but you think, oh yeah, how hard can that be? But yeah, my daughter rowed as a junior, and I spent so much time at the club that I thought, well, I might as well do it myself. And then, and we agreed that I wouldn't start rowing until she left. She left. I did a beginner's course. 8-9 years later, I'm here talking to you.
And she isn't rowing.
So she went off to uni, rowed for the first 12 months, and then unfortunately realised that she couldn't do uni work and socialise and row to the level she wanted to all at the same time. So she rowed for a bit, and then when she finished uni and went back to, she actually ended up in London in the end. She rowed for 12 months there, and it's all or nothing with her. So, and you can't do everything. She's 20. She was 21, 22, and there's other things more important than rowing.
Now, going back to Masters Rowing, what are the big competition, the regattas and the events that are in the annual calendar in Great Britain?
There's two really. There's the British Masters Championships, where you can either enter as the championship event, or you can enter the like an intermediate event. If you win an intermediate event, you can only ever enter the championships going forward. It's held in Nottingham normally, but not every year. I think it's Strathclyde next year or a year after. They try and hold it around the UK. Again, all run by volunteers, Masters volunteers. That's probably one of the biggest events where most people go to. And then there's Henley Masters, which is a few weeks later, which is just 2-lane on the Henley course, shortened Henley course, and that's a Friday and Saturday. And again, another big event. Probably, I would have said, a little bit more competitive than the British Championships.
And what about winter events? Do you do head racing?
Yeah, we do head racing. I hadn't thought about head racing really. There's Vesta, they call it. Head of the river. It's the Oxford Cambridge boat race course. We do it the week before, that week the whole week is juniors on the Thursday, seniors on the Saturday, and us old people on the Sunday. 200 and something boats. Yeah, big competitive head race, and yeah, those are probably the biggest ones. You know, when we've tried to row all winter, and you know, with the weather, it's just been a nightmare. But yeah, good. So yeah, but we managed to do the head of the river. So yeah, that was good.
Now, across the Masters, you've already mentioned there have been changes happening. What sort of innovations have come in recent years to Masters rowing in the UK?
Not lots really. You know, because I've only been rowing myself for sort of 8-9 years. Not a lot has changed for me. The connectivity between masters groups themselves changed a lot in COVID. You know, as an example, we used to all gather at 7:30 on a Saturday morning and go, right, okay, you row with you and you row with you. But then over COVID and everything, everybody got into WhatsApp, and now it's all planned before people go out. But other than that, you know, personally, not a lot's changed really for me. You know, boats are getting better, blades are getting better, you know, all that sort of stuff. But certainly for masters, yeah, I don't see a lot really. I really don't.
Do you still have a Masters novice category for racing?
So all of the racing is done on points. It used to be that you when you were a master or a senior or anybody, you had beginners and then intermediates, etc. And now they've replaced that with points, so that the more points you get, in theory, they banned the races, so you get comparative competition. Rather than a beginner coming up against you know, somebody that's a lot better than I am. And yeah, if there's enough people enter, it works really well. If you go to a regatta and there's only two of you, and one's got 800 points and one's got 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just that's a numbers game, and certain regattas and certain head races are busier, and the busier they are, then the better it works. The point system is something that gets debated on a regular basis, and does it work, does it not work, you know? But then back in the day when you had beginners and novices and such, that only changed if you were in a regatta, didn't change in a head race. So you could do a head race as a novice year after year after year and win. So yeah, didn't work.
Does that mean you do not do age group racing for Masters?
Yeah, so we still, you know, I'm just turned into a Masters E, so 55 to 60. And if you get if you go to the British Championships, you know, you enter championship level, you'll always, and there's say 12 of you, they'll always try and band it so the people with the highest points are in the one race, and the people with the lowest points are in the other race. And again, for a regatta, head race is a little bit different because it's a time trial, and they'll put the head race people, the higher point people at the front of the group as such, all Masters E's, but the highest point people will be at the front and the lowest point will be at the back, so that there's not so much overtaking, when personally I think it should probably be the other way around. So the faster people get to overtake the slower people and maybe drag them along a bit, and you know, but hey, there's millions of arguments there.
Now, tell us a little bit about future plans that British Rowing has for developing Masters rowing.
Again, it's not something I get too involved in. You know, the British Masters Championships is evolving every year, and there's a quite an active organising committee there that I'm talking to our group of Masters representatives. There's also, you know, and where you have it and what you do. There's talk of changing dates and all that sort of stuff. But other than that, you know, there's talk of, so if we go to say a regatta, and there's a Masters E against a Masters D, there's always a time handicap. They're looking to try and, is that the same for men as in women? Or sorry, is it the same for women as in men, because we've only got one thing? So there's all just constant tugging at the little bits to try and make it more even, more fair, more fun. Yeah, but you know, yeah, we just I wouldn't say we drift along, but training, racing, doing a bit of committee stuff, and hopefully it'll continue as it is and just improve very slightly, and there will be no dramatic changes, to be honest.
How many newcomers are you seeing coming in as adult novices to the sport across the country?
So adult novices, so at Penguin Boat Club, where I'm from, we're obviously, like, I would have said probably 80% of the clubs in the UK, we're all volunteer run, and we have a waiting list to become a member of Penguin Boat Club, and that's great. If you can row, you can come straight in, no problem. That's great. But we have a list of 100+ people waiting to learn to row, and I would have said 80% of those are masters, more probably. And until you find the people that can help them, you can't. You know, if you did a 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 week beginners course, that's great. And you think, right, okay, yeah, now they can row, but actually they can't really. You need to look after them for 12 months. So there are as many as we can get novices coming in, but it's just dealing with them and looking after them and not disappointing them, because, you know, if you say, right, okay, come and be a member of the club, we're teaching to row, you need to look after them for at least 12 months. And I'm sure most clubs in the UK are in the same position of, we don't have enough coaches and we don't have, you know, and the list goes on, and helpers and everything. And it's just a matter of, we could take a lot more novices on if we had the manpower to do it.
Does British Rowing have a strategy for masters, or a masters pathway for exactly the situation that you just described?
Not that I know of, no. It's something that's just done on a local level, and I'm sure there's clubs out there go, God, we haven't got a waiting list, but I certainly know over here that we're one of the only, the West Midlands, where I'm from, is is one of the only places in the UK that doesn't have a start centre, you know, for the elite rowers, which hopefully British Rowing will sort soon. But it's not something they you know, they can get involved in. How would they help, really? You know, other than supplying us people to help, which isn't going to happen, is it? You know, we have to do what we can, you know, and encourage as many in as we can, but don't encourage them in and then disappoint them. It's encourage them in and keep them, rather than do a learn to row course and maybe 1 or 2 out of, say, 15 stay, because that's not good use of time, is it? And I'm sure it's probably the same across the world.
You clearly have a very good insight to the longevity of the sport, Digger.
So I know what it was like when I learned to row, and I did a 10-week beginners course, and then got, right, okay, there you go, you can row now, when I clearly couldn't. And I don't want people to have the experience that I have going forward. So it's about trying to do the right thing for people. People aren't disappointed if they're on a waiting list, but they're disappointed if you go, right, okay, this is what it's like, and you give them that real buzz of getting in a boat, and that's great. And oh wow, that's hard. and then go, right, okay, you need to go back on the waiting list so we can look after you properly. And that's just not fair, is it?
Absolutely right. Digger, thank you so much for giving us your time, for sharing some little insights into what rowing is like in Great Britain. And to the rest of our listeners, I will be back with interviews from other federations around the world shortly.